At an hour and 57 minutes, Madam Web is a colossal waste of time. And I think I agree with Dakota Johnson in her quote saying that the film wasn't going to be good at all. Well, actually, I extrapolated a bit from what she actually said because she said she wasn't sure if the film was going to be good at all, and I just had to add my bit at the beginning. I saw a movie, so you didn't have to, and my goodness, nobody should see this movie. Here we go! So by all accounts, this film struggled from the very beginning, and probably even before the beginning. This was a girl power project, the glass ceiling project that has been on the horizon for Amy Pascal for a long time. Back to when she actually ran this part of Sony and then got fired because of all the terrible emails that she sent out that were leaked. If you don't remember that, go look at some internet history. But this film in particular is a lie. I know I've said that about a lot of films recently, especially Argylle, which was a lie, or a series of lies, and I guess that's to be expected in a spy film. But this particular one, beginning to end, is a lie. Don't anticipate going in to see a superhero movie, because that is not what this is. It's erroneously billed. There isn't a whole lot of super in it. The only super in it is the bad guy. The other super in it is the super product placement that you're going to get stuck with and recognize almost from the very beginning. Now, look, I'm blatant about my product placement. Look, right here, product placement. Yeah, I promote my brand. I promote the items that I sell on my shop. I mean, who wouldn't when you have great products to sell? But I tell you what I'm not doing, unless I'm getting paid an awful lot of money, is promoting somebody else, which, believe it or not, I have to say that Pepsi must have been paying a lot of money. And I also learned something new, and I think this will be the new meme, ladies and gentlemen. This will be the new meme. You can fix anything with compression. And I'm not just talking about the compression garments that obviously the young ladies wore that were involved in this production. And by the way, lovely girls, probably decent actresses, but you wouldn't know because the script is terrible. This was written by a 10-year-old who had a dream about something she was told about a comic book character and then created a fan fiction based on the dream about something she was told based on a comic book character. And then we end up with this. And from the very beginning, as I started to say a moment ago, the original script wasn't good enough or was changed along the way dramatically, drastically. And these are from Dakota Johnson's own words. I don't know if she really knew what she was telling us about this film when she was doing the press tour for it, other than just lower the bar of expectations to a point where not even a column of ants can limbo underneath it. It is very bad, and somehow it manages to go underneath that bar. There are a whole lot of assumptions throughout the entire film, and there are a whole lot of stereotypes and similar situations and tropes that you would expect in some of these like fish out of water movies, which is kind of what Dakota Johnson's character is from the very beginning. And she seems to have gotten her powers from a very strange source indeed. Although if you've ever seen any Spider-Man film, maybe not so strange. And I'm going to stop right there and say the following. I have spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, this is not the video for you from this point forward, because I think I should warn you what you're about to see. Now, interestingly enough, we'll begin in the Amazon in Peru. And what's crazy about this is everybody looks like they have some updated version of the period clothing they would have been wearing in 1973. Not really the 1973 fashion that you would have expected. Although who knows what they were wearing in the deepest, darkest jungles of Peru in 1973 when you're looking for spiders and the peptides that this particular venomous spider has, which again is going to rewrite the history about how you become a Spider-Man or Spider-Woman or Madam Web or whatever else. So during a planned trip to this Amazon location in Peru, Madam Web's mother is out hunting for this particular spider. She has hired somebody named Ezekiel Sims as a security guard or somebody that runs security for this expedition. And when she arrives in this location, she is incredibly pregnant, very, very close to delivery date. There's no doubt about it. And she is looking for this spider to, spoilers, cure her daughter of this muscular disease that she has in the womb. You don't find that out till later in the film, so hey, spoiler. Not only that, she manages to trust the wrong man, this Ezekiel Sims guy. He decides that he wants the spider. He'd been looking for it for years so that he could create superhumans. He wanted to be a superhuman himself. So once she found the spider, which he was stealing data from her anyway, he basically kills everybody there and, I guess accidentally on purpose, shoots Cassie's mother, Cassie Webb's mom. Cassie Webb's mom is found in the jungle by the Spider-Men. I forget what the name is for them, Lost something or another. And they take her back to their lair where they birth her daughter by having the spider bite her in the chest. And they were supposed to be saving her and her daughter, but only managed to save her daughter, who, of course, is now a foster kid who was brought up in the United States. How all of that happened, we don't know. Back in real time, Cassie doesn't recognize that she has some kind of precognitive abilities that have been waking up within her, because she is the key to everything, as you'll find out here very soon. And she basically can see events so that she can drive a little better when she's driving an ambulance, because she's a paramedic. And guess what? We get to meet Uncle Ben. That's right, Uncle Ben is featured as a partner to her in the ambulance crew, believe it or not. During the course of all of this, she finally senses that something's very wrong after being forced into a river from a great height after rescuing a collision victim. That essentially knocks her unconscious. Ben brings her back to life by doing, guess what? Compressions. You're gonna love this. There are compressions everywhere in this. That is the new meme, is heart compressions with CPR. Trust me. And then we get to the point where she starts to see things more clearly in advance, like the death of her boss because a truck runs into his ambulance, and more of these types of incidents where she sees forward what could happen or what does happen. And eventually she finds herself on a subway train after trying to process the fact that she'd just seen the death of a bird and then actually prevented it. The bird didn't die. You'll see that in the film too. Anyway, she gets on a subway train to go to the funeral of her boss who died, and she starts to see things involving 3 girls, of course. These young high school girls who really aren't fooling anybody, although the girl that plays Aranya, maybe. Anyway, the interesting thing about all of this is that she sees them being attacked and killed individually. And then she puts it all together in the middle of a subway train. And guess what happens? She starts to see the things that link together and then warns the girls, and then they escape the subway right before a guy kills them, which is interesting. But he then kills all the cops because, I guess, fun. And the cops are trying to arrest her because they think that she's kidnapping the 3 girls, and she's not. So anyway, they all escape the subway, manage to escape and elude the crazy spider guy, whatever, Ezekiel Sims, and they find their way to some remote location, eventually into the middle of a forest in New York near a diner. She leaves the girls there in the middle of the forest while she goes and figures some stuff out. She goes home, goes up through the fire escape so as not to draw attention coming through the front door, and she looks at all of her mom's things, discovers a whole lot of things, including the face of the guy whose face they haven't seen, that she recognizes and puts together that was in the jungle of Peru, because there was a picture of the 2 of them together. Wow. Anyway, so we get to a certain point where she accepts all that she can do and some of the things that she can't. And there was a little humor in there. And I will say this, pause for a moment to say, Dakota Johnson does a good job here. Not a great job, but a good job. And she's probably the best thing in the film, although I would say that the other 3 girls that were in this film, that were supposed to be in high school, they weren't given a script to even try to show what they could do. Terrible writing. I think other people have said that it could have been written by a computer, and I totally believe that. Now, of course, the girls are teenage girls, and there is a lot of really weird technology differences in this, which I was going to go into, but I'm not. You'll see during the course of the film that there's technology that exists that really didn't exist in the years that there was supposed to exist, but I'm skipping it because that's the least part of the unbelievable parts of this movie. Anyway, they leave, they find this diner. Cassie goes to the forest, figures out they're not there, and then backtracks so that she can get to, well, where this diner is. And she sees the future a couple of times on her way to this diner, and eventually just crashes the car that she's stolen, it's a taxi, into the diner and hits the guy, Ezekiel Sims, and kind of takes him out of commission. Ezekiel uses his super hand, venom hand thing that he's got going on, which doesn't really affect her. She just kind of walks away, or I guess drives away in this case, as she gets the three girls to safety. They go to a motel, they talk through things. She has to ditch the girls with Uncle Ben, future Uncle Ben, her partner, has to ditch them with Ben while she goes to Peru, where she finds the tribe of Spidermen and kind of, gets shown the ropes, so to speak. She gets her spirit pushed out of her body into that pond that she was born in, so that she can see all the different strands and things that happened in her life, including before her birth, where she discovers that she had a terrible muscular disease before she was even born. And in some weird way, she's able to hug her mom at that moment, at that point in time, as an adult person before she's even born. Somebody write that down. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. Anyway, getting back to the moment, she arrives back in the cave with Spider-Man guy, and he explains that she is going to accept responsibility to have great power. So they perverted the most important line in Spider-Man's zeitgeist, I would say, and I was stunned. You will probably find yourselves with mouths agape at that moment, because you're like, wow, they stole everything from the very inception as Spider-Man being the first to, well, basically his storyline, his all of it. They stole it all. What I also found weird is that throughout the film, current modern day stuff leaks into the writing, of course, like recycling and things like that. They were already hinting at, global issues way back here during the course of this film. And I think we're looking at the year back through a lens when Cassie would be, I guess, 30 years old, since she was born in 2003. Does that make sense? Of course, they also don't fail to mention that there are plastics poisoning the oceans back in 2003, which I don't think we were talking about quite yet. Again, there's a lot of things that don't line up with where things were in our 2003, with what was available technology-wise, and a whole lot of other things in 2003. At the very end of the film, and again, more spoilers ahead, Dakota Johnson's character Cassie is kind of precogging her way through a way to defeat Ezekiel Sims' character, who I don't even know what to call, but anyway, he ends up in a situation where she's kind of precogged him into a corner and basically gets him trapped by steel, and then has the Pepsi Cola sign collapse onto him. Of course, not to be outdone, she falls from this very high sign of a building she was already at, which conveniently had the Pepsi Cola sign on it, which was illuminated in neon, despite the building being condemned because, well, it was basically a bomb waiting to go off, and you can go back to the beginning of the film for that explanation. Anyway, so she falls off the top of that and into the water, and then somehow is blinded somehow by a firework that goes by her underwater, and I guess takes her vision. But that didn't matter at all, because she was all of a sudden drowning. And the Sydney Sweeney character, and I forget her name because the names are not important, because really nothing about this film is. She dives down, collects her. This is the second time that she's drowned underwater, by the way, in this film. She doesn't have a good, not a good track record around water. Just remember that. And then she rescues her, and then what do? All three of the girls take turns doing compressions on Cassie, like she taught them, because compressions save everybody all the time. Just don't stop compressing their chest. We accelerate forward to the point at which she is brought, back to life, and she has her eyes all glassed over and magically wakes up in the hospital a little later with the three girls surrounding her. And of course, the nurse walks in and says, "Are you all immediate family?" Yes, that kind of a moment, which is predictable. And I guess the baby was born at the same time for, I guess, Uncle Ben's sister-in-law. I don't know. It's crazy. But we find out at the very end of it all that Cassie now is blind, and she can see everything in the future all the time and predicts things. And before, I guess, Aranya can actually sneeze, she says, "Bless you," and then a few seconds later she sneezes. All kinds of dumb stuff like that. But that's the film. And there were no superpowers anywhere. Everything you saw in the trailer was a lie. Are you getting used to this yet? They basically lied to you in the trailer to sell you a different kind of a movie. And the precognition recognition stuff didn't happen until later. None of these girls demonstrated any superpowers. And till the very, very end, neither did Cassie. The only person with superpowers, once again, is this Ezekiel dude, and he's just trying to prevent his death. This is not a good movie. I don't even know how to expand upon that. As I said before, everything here was weighed down by a terrible script, which apparently, as I said at the beginning of the video, wasn't even the original script, which is telling you something. Now, what could have made this better probably was drinking copious amounts of alcohol, but I don't do that when I'm going to drive, and I try not to drink copious amounts of anything other than maybe coffee and tea, so I guess pick them for you, however you plan to get through this if you intend to go. But I'm going to tell you right now, I saw a movie so you didn't have to, and you really don't want to see this movie. And I'm probably not the only one going to tell you that this is an incredible waste of time and money, and probably something that could have been a halfway decent movie. Let's get to the rating real quickly. We'll do the, 1 out of 10 rating first. And this one is a solid 3. A 3 out of 10. It is 1.5 stars on my 5-star system. I don't even know why I didn't just rate it a 1. I also don't know why I didn't just give it a 2 score on the 10 scale. But I think some of it was that there was good acting. The actor that played Uncle Ben, very good. The actress did the best that she could. Dakota Johnson did the best she could with what she was given. And the girls weren't given anything. This is a film that struggles to give you a reason to believe that it needed all of these characters. You really just needed Dakota Johnson's character to sell this movie. And I think this is another one of those films that only got made because of its diversity, so he had to shove 3 other characters into this movie. I think that's the only way it got made, and I think that's the only reason that the girls were there. On that note, I think I can predict the future myself right now, which is nobody's going to see Kraven the Hunter, and nobody's going to see anything else coming out of the Spider-Verse after what happened with Morbius and this film. This isn't even funny like Morbius was. It's basically the death of a Spider-Verse. And that'll come as some bad news to people who are looking forward to a Miles Morales movie. But we'll leave that for another time when people can hate on me some more. On that note, if you plan on seeing this film, please, down in the comments section below, tell me why. Seriously. Also, if you've seen this movie, I'm with you. And tell me what you thought of it, because that's going to be interesting too. I guess some people are intending to do this for Valentine's Day. That is a terrible Valentine's Day idea. I think you're going to find yourself, well, not with the agenda you had planned later in the evening. And on that note, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya.